podcast about loving stuff. My name is Daniel Thrawn. You may recognize my voice from Martini Giant, a podcast about movies, which you can check out at www.martinigiant.com. This podcast isn't necessarily about movies, but people come here to talk about things they love. Ideas, concepts, lines from books, moments in time, people, history, anything. If you're interested in being on Love It, I'd love to have you. And you can reach me at dthrawn on Twitter, or you can check out my YouTube page at dthrawn as well. So let's see. Today, what do I love? I love the show Severance on Apple. This one sort of hit me out of the blue. I've seen a lot of Ben Stiller stuff. I like Ben Stiller a lot. I didn't realize that he directed Severance. And though I had seen his movies, stuff like Dodgeball and The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Those are pretty good movies, but nothing prepared me for how good he had become with his work in Severance. Severance is a Philip K. Dick-ish kind of experience. It's funny, it's strange. It's deep and unnerving sci-fi that really connected with me, and the fact that I worked in an environment that's close to the one described in the show for a good long time. And it may ring a bell with you, so I definitely recommend checking that one out if you're a sci-fi fan or if you're not a sci-fi fan. I also love the sci-fi movie Outland with Sean Connery. Very few people have actually seen this or even heard of it. It came out in 1981, and it is a sort of remake of High Noon, only set in space and a mining colony on a moon of Jupiter. And Sean Connery plays a company marshal who is charged with keeping the peace, and the peace breaks down. It's a small movie. It's extremely well directed by Peter Hyams. You've probably seen a lot of Peter Hyams movies without knowing who Peter Hyams is, but I definitely recommend looking him up, especially that movie. And you can also look up his son's work. John Hyams is a director as well, and he is at least as good as his dad. He directed the Netflix show Black Summer. Seasons 1 and 2. 2 especially is a real knockout. And a terrific slasher movie, very inventive slasher movie called Sick. So, I don't know, check these out if you're having a movie watching weekend coming up. And today I love talking to James Blevins. He represents the opposite of everything negative you would think about the industry of making movies. I think you'll see what I mean. This is my conversation with James Blevins, and I hope you love it. I am mostly very awkward. I don't know if you've ever noticed this.
It's good that you're moving through this.
This is a
proud
process.
of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Deep breaths. Deep breaths.
That's right. Well, I don't know if people are prepared for this because we both have such great voices.
You know, no one is less charming when they're calling themselves charming. But, you know,
that's why I do it for you.
I know. But I got to say, your voice, well, I can't agree with it, right? This is the voice of the entire species of Quarren. I was tapped by the creative crew of The Mandalorian to they just left my voice in, you know, as post-soup. You read all the lines so the editors can line up all the animatics against the script. And now they just kept it, baby. They were like, oh, we're keeping it.
They just loved it. How could they not?
Just exactly.
An entire slice of the Star Wars universe is yours now. That's pretty exciting.
I have my own figurine, you know, I'm ready to sign it. It's all good.
But that's true before Star Wars. It's just selling so much better now that you have exposure.
I was told by Mike Blanchard when he heard that they were leaving my voice in, and I was, you know, got the SAG card and everything. And he said, James, that's great. But just one note, if you ever respond to any of my questions with, well, as an actor, I think we should do this. We're done. I'm not speaking to you anymore. That's it. Okay, Mike. All right.
I'm going to start responding that way.
That's right. That's right. What would you like for breakfast?
As an actor, let me tell you,
I'd like poached eggs.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch, particularly motivating. This is a very exciting day for me.
I love it.
Yeah, James and I have known each other for quite some many years. We have acted together. We have worked together. And we've engaged in many long philosophical talks over the nature of reality that are usually relegated to dorm rooms, but we have carried it on into our later lives.
Yes. Well, I never went to a dorm, I'm making up for lost time. I assume these are the conversations. Why would anyone stop having those conversations, by the way?
I'm disappointed in everyone else. I think we're the only ones carrying the torch.
Why stop a good thing?
Would you care to tell the audience about yourself?
Sure. I'm James Blevins. Came to town 1994, just in time for the earthquake. Started on set. I think my earliest credit was transportation captain for Swimming with Sharks.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah,
That's a classic.
Yeah. And then, just tore through the culture of on-set life, through the art department. I was a lead man. I just was making independent movies, was on a George Hickenlooper film for a bit called Real Life. And, just doing what you can. I was a prop guy, weapons master, and I didn't stumble into my digital career until 1996, I want to say, when I got a job at Cinesite and got wheeled into a room where they're just beginning to digitize everything. That started 15 years of visual effects.
Yeah, you've had a front row seat for the biggest changes in the industry, really. Like, most actors do not follow the career path to high technology, actual production end folks that they work with.
I always felt that acting was just something that was a facet of the entire package, and that technology was the thing that I was seeing that was creating just this amazing positive evolution forward. And because I was applying it in art, it was relatively harmless. It was, we were making a thing called a movie, right? Or a TV show, or we were telling a story. And so it was a really great fertile ground to watch this incredible evolution occur, while at the same time, you can easily look around and think Camus is right. Hell is other people, and oh my gosh, the world is burning. The context of these conversations, you have to be very clear, because I'm just in a conversation with my sister. She's very socially oriented. She was talking about the fact that people had abused this entire technological approach to take advantage of people, which they did. But I found myself having an argument saying but that's not the technology, that's people misusing the technology, which sounds like guns don't kill people, people kill people.
Sure. I get it. I get where she's coming from.
Well, your whole argument about AI, or discussion about AI, right, is about the fact that large language models aren't going to take your job away. They're going to augment your job that you have. I agree with that.
Just to give the audience some context, I recorded this, I don't know,
manifesto
about AI in writing, AI art in general. And for people that know me, I am often a very annoying, contrarian, manifesto-driven kind of person. But I made an argument that makes everybody mad. Like, whatever side you're on, you're mad at me for it. And essentially it boils down to, I think that running away from AI and being fearful of it actually empowers the people that will abuse it. And that is the thing that will take your job. AI isn't the thing that will do that. It's the studio hacks who learn it. Just like with the crypto bros, these kinds of technologies are instantly co-opted by jerks.
Greed. It's greed. Greed is enabled by technology just like every other aspect.
And so what makes me fight against people's attitude towards AI, which is like, we'll never use AI because humans are the real writers. And I'm like, yes, that's all. This is always true and will always be true. Like, you're the one who is responsible for the art, period. That's it. Whether you're using AI or not, because you're the one who says when it's done.
The thing I tell people when I'm being asked about, whether or not something's going to take my job, right? My entire career, I have been automated out of a job.
Yes.
That's
Right.
where I sit. I sit in a place that is right on the edge, and because it's a little bumpy and painful, there's a real force to rectify the situation and smooth it out. And oftentimes, I used to get really ticked off that I'd get about 2 or 3, 4 years in, and then an efficiency expert would come up from from Accenture or something and say like, "What are you doing here, James? Well, why are you doing it that way?" It's like, well, because there are all these guild guys around, and I gotta, stand on one leg and do it this way, and I'm not allowed to do it that way. And we'll take it from here, James. Thanks a lot. But that's
Right.
I realized that is part of the process, right? So I was always spat out like a watermelon seed into the next thing, right? So in this generative AI moment, it's obvious to me that there are new jobs waiting. Do not spend more energy worrying about whether or not someone's going to take your job unless you spend equal amount of energy engaging. You have to engage with this. This is the magical window right now. Right now. In 6 months, all the large language models will begin to develop into like brands, you know. Um, Disney's going to have theirs. Everyone's going to have theirs. You know why everyone's going to have theirs? Because large language models, turns out that the computer needed to run them only needs an A10 processor and 80 gigabytes of RAM. That's what you need to run a large language processor, which means everyone gets one. So you're going to wind up with a bunch of people saying, oh, well, here at the Gersh Agency, we only input our material into large language model X, right? And they'd be like, oh, yeah, well, that's the one we want to use. So my point is that there are going to be new jobs that surface on top of this entire process and around this new conversation. Again, everything's going to scale, and there's going to be a part that needs to be managed, and that will be the job.
Well, and everyone is already using this stuff to an extent. Like, it's
Yeah,
become part
right.
of like Gmail and stuff like this. Like, like we will just become used to this being how we interact with
Move
things,
on.
right?
But you're right. By railing against AI, to me, is about you're wasting some cycles. We get it. There's a problem. You know, we could just as easily create a large language model owned by a consortium of agencies and studios that would only allow guild members to interface with it.
You see what like Adobe did. Like, Adobe's like, we own a ton of stock photos. We'll build our model on our stock photos that we are already paying these artists for, and then that problem goes away because these artists have already sold their work to Adobe to make money off of it. Like, you're not ripping anybody off anymore.
That's right.
Problem solved. I don't believe in villains. I don't believe in bad guys. Right.
Yeah. All right.
Like, I think that everybody. I sometimes am a little puzzled as to how tone deaf billionaires can be about what their actions are.
Did I don't know, man. Because look, I've absolute power corrupts absolutely, and greed is a thing.
Without a doubt. Like, there's
Right.
like, yeah, but I like but I don't believe that whatever billionaires are automatically evil people.
No.
Like, I don't really believe in evil people per se. I believe in evil actions. And it's all a matter of like how essentially narcissistic you've let yourself become given your point of
That's
view.
it. That's right. Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. So look, um, we are, I think, entering an age where sort of the Iron Man technologist is about to be a little bit vilified because I think that it is not enough to say I am smart enough to see clearly that this is a need that will affect the planet, and we're going to go this way. We're going to go do this. We're going to make electric cars. We're going to make a space program that really is useful. I mean, there are that is the upside of free market capitalism. Um, but I do think that there is an attitude, and I'm guilty of this myself, that the technologists, they feel that because they have made a solution that is an advancement and changes an entire process or creates a market, that that is the job and that's done. Like Uber, right? So that was, whatever the market will bear. And so I do think that the other side of this is going to be, um, it's not enough. I think these are right-minded people doing things, but I do hear conversations among the one percenters that are sort of leaked out, like, listen, when the society does collapse, exactly how do I hire a security force that will not kill me when we're keeping the rabble out? It's like, oh, yeah, that's the problem you're worried about? Okay,
Yeah,
cool, cool, cool.
exactly. Right. Because what they have successfully done in their mind is something that we all do, which is dehumanize. Like they've engaged in dehumanization of the other so they can act on their own benefit.
And they've been empowered by the technology. Thorstein Veblen first encapsulated this sort of process, as I best understand it, in a book called Theory of the Leisure Class. And you could read that. It's a good little, like, 100-page read, heralded as a brilliant piece of social science in its own time, which was ironic because the people who were celebrating him were the people he was talking about, the leisure class. Um, but it's you've heard of conspicuous consumption and all that stuff. That comes from that book,
Right.
Conspicuous Leisure, Conspicuous Consumption. But these are driving forces that have been with us since we've raided other people's villages, right?
Of course. Yeah.
And seeing as how civilization isn't that old, it seems to be kind of baked in. So it's going to be interesting to see, where technology goes from here, because if, every technology seems to have a bias, and if that bias is incorporated into the stuff that we build now, it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be, we're going to have to really work hard to counter that,
Yeah,
you
you
know?
can see it like how,
Um,
say, AI, when they're building AI, when they're training it on interactions with the internet, it becomes racist instantaneously. You're just like, AI, why'd you do that? Well,
well,
it seems like you
what?
guys are
It
pretty
seems like,
racist.
yeah, exactly. I'm still, even with all this going on, right? I mean, someone at breakfast today was like, "God, the world! I don't believe it. How can all this be happening on? It's so terrible." And then I'll say, "Yeah, but is it is it more crazy than like Pol Pot? Is it more crazy than like Vietnam? Is it more crazy than Auschwitz? Is it more crazy? I mean, seems to me for in
That's
terms of
pretty crazy.
crazy, that's
Just at Pol Pot. Just at Pol
yeah,
Pot. You're like, actually,
yeah.
that was, well, now
That's
that you
pretty
mention it, that was
crazy.
pretty
Yeah,
terrible.
that's pretty terrible, right? And it's good to remember these things because
Mhm.
you don't want to be doomed to repeat history.
Right.
Um, but my point is that it's I think it's good that people are stressed out a little bit, that things are very concerning, and I think that people should be
Absolutely.
concerned, but I think they should be just as equally pushing forward, because the people who are concerned are also the people who have the most to contribute in a positive way
Hmm.
because of those very concerns. They should not abandon interacting with these technological advancements just because they can see a negative outcome.
Absolutely, because anything can have a negative outcome. Any technology at all. It's like I just saw an interview with Patton Oswalt. I don't know who he was quoting, but he said every technology has three outcomes. Like there's the positive one. I've invented an axe. I can now cut down wood and build a house. Two, I have dropped the axe on my foot, and this is horrible, and I may die of an infection. Three, I can kill you with an axe. Right? And so the more you pay attention and the more you get control of the situation, the less those latter two happen.
As you know, I'm a member of the board for the HPA, Hollywood Professional Association. We have this tech retreat every February, and we have a super session. And this one was sort of almost in a John Henry kind of way, of putting a classic animator and animating process, a pipeline, up against an AI augmented pipeline. And it's become clear that even 4 months into this process, that you look over at what the classic animators are doing, they're already using generative AI in their new process, but they were supposed to be classic, right? And so they're trying to emulate this style. And I'm like, well, then we should make note where it was irresistible for them. They were using Adobe Character Animator. They were using generative AI because it was just there. You know what I mean?
It's available.
And right. So that means that we might have to come up with a new concept, because if the classic pipeline is not being adopted, the ship's already sailed. You are now like faking your control no longer exists because no one is making animations in this classic way.
Yeah, the way you should be.
Especially on a smaller scale. Right, the way you should be, right? And that's the other thing about this generative AI system is that, like you said, everyone can do this in the privacy of their own home, which means it's an intensely personal experience, which is why I'm fascinated to see what it does to collaborative processes. Because I that's what I do. I collaborate with people. That's I like to work with others, but you don't have to. And so I don't know exactly what's going to happen in this process, because more and more of the individual work can be extended into past development. Your previs can suddenly become the show. And so I'm very curious. I don't think it's a good thing or a bad thing. I just think it's going to change collaboration.
So, like, with everything we've talked about today and all these subjects, is there something that ties that together for you?
It's going to be okay. You're not living in a world that's going to annihilate you. And by the who I'm talking to now are like the people in my industry, media entertainment. It's going to be all right, and it's going to be disruptive. That's the time you're living in, and so you have to do yourself a favor and lean in to the disruption. I think it will really benefit you, because if you don't, you will be filled with a bit of regret. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to have anything to do with regret. It's the positive side of embracing the abyss, embrace the not knowing of it and continue to adopt these new things. It comes in waves. This technology comes in waves. The first wave of this particular phase has already passed us. And man, it was great. I didn't catch the whole thing, but I hope these things come in sets, because I am about to catch the second one, right? And I think that everyone else should too.
James Blevins, thank you very much for joining me today on Love It. You are an amazing friend and an incredible conversationalist, and we're very, very lucky to have you here.
Thanks. Anytime.
All right. Good night, everybody. See you next week. Thanks.